I'm excited about the future of this show.
Don't bother going to church because your short game needs some work. So raise your glass, even though he's not the best. But at least he made the top 5.
What safety issues do they have in softball in the villages versus softball outside the villages, or non-senior softball?
So, a couple things. We have the batter's box and our batter's home plate. But there's a runner's plate behind us. So, runners coming in from third don't come in to the plate at the batter's box. They go to the plate to the right, and that's so to avoid a collision between the catcher and the runner. Okay. And then on first base, there's the first baseman's bag, which is inside the first base line, and then there's a runner's bag on the outside of the first base line. And again, that's so to avoid a collision between the runner and the first baseman.
Okay.
Are collisions prohibited?
Yes.
Okay. So if somebody comes in home and they try to collect because they think
that's why they got the 2 plates.
Yeah, but if they don't,
you're out.
They're out. So there is a penalty.
And if you run, even if there's not a collision, if you run from third to the batter's home plate, you're out.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
You're out. It's certainly a rule of contention at times. Runners going from first to second. You cannot run into the second baseman. Ground ball. And, there's a force play at second base. You cannot run into the fielder at second base. You can either slide or you can just veer off just to the right of second base. And you can actually run through second base if there were to be a force play. And then it's the umpire's judgment as to whether or not the runner would have beat the throw to second base.
And who does the umpiring, since you mentioned that?
They're all volunteers. Most of them are players.
Most of them are, not all, but most.
Not all, but most.
But they're volunteers.
They're all volunteers.
They play in the league, and they also umpire the league.
Yep.
And what about scorekeepers then? Tell us about that.
Again, volunteers.
All volunteers.
If you haven't been to one of the fields, it's just, the fields are just, we're so fortunate here to have, we have 3 fields, Saddlebrook, Buffalo Glen, and Everglades, where you have 4 beautifully maintained softball fields. And in the middle of the softball fields is a 2-story building, first floor being a concession stand with bathrooms, and then a stairway access up to the second floor. And on the second floor, it's just all windows, and you have a scorekeeper and you have an announcer that sits facing each field, and they scorekeep and announce each game. Each game has a volunteer scorekeeper and announcer.
Oh, wow.
So if you're new and moving to the villages and want to get involved in softball, let's say you love the game, but you just know you can't play anymore. That's another volunteer opportunity, right?
Absolutely,
You could come volunteer to umpire if you know the game. And is there any sort of training that they give the umpires that want to volunteer?
They do. Before the season starts, they have a couple training sessions for the umpires.
Okay.
We talked about safety equipment. Now you start talking about the net. Now what's this net that the pitchers have to use or don't have to use?
In Division II, the pitcher does not have to use a pitcher's net, which is just a screen. You'll see it in baseball when they're pre-game, when they're throwing pitches to the batter, just to protect the pitcher. When the ball comes back at them. When they pitch, they're supposed to get behind it. I would say less than half the pitchers use it.
So the face guard. I saw some people in my videos had face guards on it, shortstop and third base.
They don't have to, but I would strongly recommend it.
So I played a handful of games at shortstop this season, and towards the end, I got a face guard because those balls are hit hard, and certainly you're getting some hops that are jumping off and we had a player get hit and the third baseman got hit in the cheek, and cut open his cheek a little bit. So yeah, it's not required, but it's certainly advisable.
You guys were talking about how nice the facilities are,
Yeah.
but shape that you can still get some bad hops off the ball.
Sure. They
Yeah.
before each game they drag the field, but especially now, and I don't know this for a fact, but we're kind of in a drought right now. It's been pretty dry for us, so I tend to wonder how much the fields are getting watered, because the infields and the outfields, but certainly the infields can get pretty hard, even when they drag the field before each game. And also, with the runners running around, that imaginary line between second and third base, there's a lot of footholds in there. So if a batted ball hit pretty hard hits one of those footholes, it's going to take it on that. It's going to go.
Thanks to him, we've got the best league to play in. It's not a boast, just a toast.